Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak. How's everybody doing out there? We are getting to the big time. This is summer. The heat is on us. It is inescapable, and this is sort of like I've said it before with House of Dragons, where they kept saying winter's coming. Down here, we say summer's coming because we know it's going to be brutal. It's going to be hot, and there's no escaping it unless you can get in some AC. And I just happen to be sitting in the AC right now, and it feels nice and cozy in here. But not every day's like that. We're expecting some 100+ degree temperature coming up, and that comes with a lot of humidity as well, which means it's super dangerous for people to be outside doing a lot of activities. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that make their living outdoors doing activities. So it's going to be very important that everybody stay hydrated and make sure that they try not to overdo it. I mean, I know it's kind of hard when you got a job to do, but you know, be safe. If you feel like you're getting overheated, definitely take a break, drink lots of fluids, try to cool off. Your brain can only take so much, and your muscles and your body. Pickle juice helps, weirdly enough. I don't know why. This is stuff I heard, so I can tell you that I heard that if you drink some dill pickle juice, it's supposed to help because of something about magnesium in the pickle juice. I don't even know if that's true. You tell me if it's true, because I don't know. Anyway, beyond all that, we got 4th of July coming up. I personally have a special event coming up. I'm going to go in with my friend Greg to Alabama, to watch Bert Kreischer's Fully Loaded tour, the last um, show. Not the last show, but the last show of this year. Every year, I think this is the third year they've done it, where this sort of started with Bert doing a outdoor comedy thing just to be able to do comedy because he felt like he was going stir crazy during COVID. He got together with a bunch of friends. They started renting out movie theaters, drive-in movie theaters that were just struggling to make it. And he hired a crew to do setup and takedown and build a stage and have lighting and all that stuff. And they worked it out where even he made a comment. He said, I'm not really making any money at this, but at least gets people something to do. It gets them outdoors. The cost of doing this is so high, but um, I feel like I can justify it just by giving us all something to do. And it was necessary, and it did really well. Matter of fact, he even got a big write up in a newspaper of being the most innovative comedian of the year that year. And from that, it grew into what is now the Fully Loaded Tour, where they're going to a lot of baseball parks. Most recently, they were in Canton, Ohio, um, performed there. I'm following it along on Instagram and stuff like that whenever they post stuff. Uh, one of the reasons I wanted to go to the final show of the tour is that Whitney Cummings is going to be there. And I've always wanted to see her do stand up comedy in person. She's come to the area somewhat after she did her last OnlyFans comedy show that was free. No, it's not what you think. It's not. There's no nudity. It's just she's trying to think outside of the box of platforms and places where she could do comedy that may become more accessible. Inadvertently, any source that has a media platform starts off where they're reckless and wild, and they let you do pretty much anything just to get eyeballs to their platform. And then after a while, they hire executives who give you notes, and their notes are, "We think you should do this. We think you should do that. You should do this. Let us edit this. Let us edit that." And it takes away from the idea of what the creative person, the comedian in this case, wanted to do. And Whitney, being the innovator that she is, thought outside the box, and she happened to do a roast of Bert Kreischer on OnlyFans. Again, no nudity, just them just being allowed to do whatever and say whatever. And just that freedom allowed for something really funny to be created. And the more that she talked to them, the more she realized she could do other things. And OnlyFans wanted to get into more mainstream stuff. They wanted to use their media platform to have on comedy and have on musical acts and stuff like that, and sort of build a brand outside of what they began as. Um, while also realizing that that's their bread and butter. Um, so I watched it. It was great. I thought it was really funny, and I wanted to see her in person. And as a fan of comedy, as a fan of comedians, I feel like I get a lot of free entertainment from them, from podcasts and listening to their commercials about you know using certain beauty products or skincare routines or flip flops or underwear or whatever. I buy things here and there to support them if it's something that I think I'd like, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. Um, but in her case, I she doesn't. There's no commercials on stuff, because most of her stuff is centered towards women. There's not a lot of stuff she sells on her podcast that I can support anything. But I want to see her in person. I was like, buy a ticket, buy a ticket. I know that she's probably not getting paid much to do this, but it is an exercise for her. I know she just had a baby this last year, and it's an opportunity for her to get out in front of the public and get some reps in, doing some comedy at a festival is a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed listening to her and Bert over the years do podcasts together. They're really funny together. Their timing is incredible. They seem like they're really good friends to one another. Whitney had a thing years ago where she was in the bathtub and was taking a picture, and she thought she only had her face in the picture, saying that, oh God, some days, the makeup really helps and today it's not. And she accidentally snapped the picture and her boob was in the picture. Well, then some troll reached out and was like, hey, if you don't pay me some money, I'm going to leak to everybody the picture of your boob. And because once she realized she did it, she took it down. And she was like, no, screw this. She's like, you're not going to hold me hostage because of my boob. She was like, I paid good money for these boobs. And she's like, I'm proud of this boob. So she put it back. She put it back on herself. She was like, to the troll who thought you were going to, hold me hostage for money because I had my boob out. She's like, just eat a turd. And she posted it back. And she was pretty upset about it. And when she did, Bert being the friend that he is, uh, and in his own comedic mind, thought it'd be really funny to stand in solidarity of sorts. Um, he had an injury when he had his show Trip Flip, where going down a water slide and being launched about 100 feet into a pond. When he landed, he ruptured a testicle. And he had a photo of his ruptured testicle. And he posted it. He says, for all you who are worried about people leaking things online, here's a picture of my testicle. I stand in solidarity with Whitney. Trolls can eat it. And I thought that was so funny. And they talked about it together. They were like, how silly, but also like, people get over yourself. I mean, geez. Um, but yeah, I mean, she's hilarious. Listen, I've watched a lot of her comedy. I watched Two Broke Girls, which she created. Um, she also helped revive the Connors. Um, she's done a lot of other projects that I've watched. The show Whitney was great. I liked that. So I'm a fan. I listen to her podcast. Um, I'm an original Bop 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 listener. So that's not the name of the podcast. It's good for you. Um, Bop 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 is sort of like a it doesn't matter anyway. It's an inside thing. Um, okay, so let's talk about stuff I heard, or stuff I've seen, I should say. So this past week, we had a lot of things sort of kick off. There was House of Dragons. I don't know if anybody saw House of Dragons. Season 2 began. Their shows are coming out on Sunday nights on HBO, which means I don't get to watch them until Monday because I'm not going to stay up on Sunday night to watch this. I know HBO, you're thinking, oh, this would be great. This will be the thing that people can bond on so that Monday morning when they go into work, they have something they can talk about. And for those who don't catch it on Sunday, they'll watch it on Monday. And you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I found that I don't sleep well when I watch something super exciting before bed. So if there's ever anything like that that debuts the night before, or the night of, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll see that tomorrow or the day after in the morning. But having my coffee. Um, so I watched it. I was not a fan of the first season. I felt like they rushed a lot of things really quickly. They aged up people very quickly. mainly because they were just trying to do a backdrop of the story and let you understand who these people are and why it matters of the things they're doing. But half of the season was just boring because it was just okay. So this person's that person, and this person said this. Now we're going to jump forward 10 years. Now this person's this, and this person's that, and it's like what? The continuity was difficult to catch up with, and I realized they were just like, we need to set up the story because we got a story to tell, but we got to get there, and it's going to take a few episodes. And I did not enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it. Um, the only episode that I really enjoyed was the final episode of season one. I was like, finally, you did some stuff. Something happened other than you just setting up character development. It's sort of like reading a Stephen King novel. I remember reading more than one Stephen King book growing up and thinking to myself, you spend over half the book telling us who all these people are and what their favorite cereal is and what their favorite color is and how they look at the ocean from this direction. And then you have like the meat of what's going to happen in the last, three chapters, four chapters. It's like, come on. Um, that's sort of how this felt. This felt like they were giving you a lot of crap in the beginning just to go, and now this. It's almost like the storytellers had a hard time giving you the outline. Does that make sense? Anyway, this is not the case for season two. Season two, episode one kicks off with a bang. We have things happening right away. I watched a little after the show portion on HBO where they talk about it. And they said, basically season one was split into two parts. The first part was setting up the big war um, between the seven kingdoms. And he said, and the final episode running into this season is it. This is the meat and potatoes. This is what we've been planning for. So I'm really impressed right away. Um, I had almost forgot who some of these characters were until they started talking about who they were related to and how they related, especially with the Targaryens because all of their hair is white. And it's like, okay, I remember the white haired people, they're supposed to be like bonded with dragons or something. I don't know, whatever. Whatever. Fireproof or something. Some magical thing. Anyway, I thought it was great. I'm into it. So that kicked off this week. House of Dragons, season two, episode one is out. But I also noticed that The Boys had came out, and The Boys is on Amazon Prime. Um, it is based on a graphic novel, Homelander being the center point character. Uh, Looks like he's supposed to be Superman, but he's not. He has a lot of Superman's qualities, but he's really messed up in his brain. Um, I like to tell everybody who hasn't seen The Boys that it's basically like imagine all the people that you know. Now, give half of them superpowers. What are they going to do with that power? I mean, realistically, not altruistically. I'm going to save everyone and be perfect. No, no, no. This is real people with real problems and real issues and real wants and desires. What would they do with those superpowers? Now, imagine you took the rating off the TV because it's on Amazon Prime and you signed up to watch this. So they're going to do whatever gross thing it is that you've never thought they might do, they're going to do. Yeah, it's that. So my wife was we were sitting around yesterday and she's like, "You're watching The Boys, right?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Did you see the latest season?" And I said, "I did. I watched it. Matter of fact, I watched it this morning with coffee." And she was like, "What happened that was so over the top?" And I was like, "I don't want to talk about it." And she was like, what do you mean you want to talk about it?" I was like, I don't want that in your brain. Like, I mean, they just do stuff every episode that pushes the limits of what you would think people would do in a situation with superpowers. I've said it before, their budget for splattering blood and guts and body parts has got to be half the budget. They don't need to spend a lot showing people fly around. You can tell whenever they land that it's obviously wires landing them. That's not the cool part. The cool part is okay, what do they do when they're faced with mortal people? That's also the times when things get really gross, or the things they do when they're interacting with each other. Because if you got superpowers, what's stopping you from doing anything? Um, so yeah, it's it's there. She's like, what was the thing that was hard to watch? And I was like, I don't know. There was like three things that happened in an episode where I was like, whoa, whoa. I mean, one in particular, um, this woman is supposed to be really smart. Her name is Sage. I mean, she's supposed to be the smartest person on the planet because of her superpower is that she is the smartest person. Um, her brain never stops regrowing, so she never forgets anything. Imagine if you couldn't forget anything, how crazy that would make you. And you can tell it's driving her crazy. Having conversations with normal people about anything is just infuriating because she already knows what to say, how to motivate them, what's going to be the outcome, and all of it. But she just needs the pieces to play out, and it's just like being able to sit still and be quiet is hard, which I can relate to. I mean, there are moments in my life where I feel like I'm trying to problem solve things and I'm sitting there listening to the television, but I don't know what the television's saying because I'm thinking about how to fix this or how to do that, or I have this trip coming up and I got to get ready for that. And it can be a lot of noise in your brain. And I'm just a I'm just an average person. I joke around at work and when I'm doing a safety class, I tell them, listen, I was a straight C student. I went in the Marine Corps not because I was really smart. I went in there because I was very strong and I got stronger. They used to tell us if you're not going to be smart, you're going to be strong. And there was a lot to that. Um, their lesson was also that while we're making you strong, we want you to be smarter. And that's the other lesson is don't just accept what you have, try to change. So anyway, beyond that, back to the show. She is tired because she can't shut her brain off. And I can relate. A lot of us can relate. Anyone who has um, that sort of what they call neuro spicy brain thing where you just can't seem to be quiet in your brain. Um, she tells this guy, uh, he calls himself the Deep. He's basically Aquaman. Um, he's a good looking guy, but he's a moron. Um, she's sort of stroking his ego through the show, telling him, oh, you're a superior being. You're so smart. Blah blah. Blah. She finds him attractive, but she also realizes he's a moron. But she's still a woman. She has wants and needs, right? And so she tells him, she says, "Listen, I've got a proposal for you because I can't shut my brain off. What I'm going to need for you to do," and she hands him these tools, this long, shiny surgical tool that looks like a spike. And she says, "I'm going to need you to insert this right here." And she points at her eyeball on the corner. She goes, "Not my eyeball. I don't want you to blind me, but I want you to shove this into my brain and scoop out some of that stuff so that I don't think for a while and I can just be happy." And he's like, "I'm not doing that." And she's like, "No, no, no. This will be fine. Like my brain regrows all the time. Like this won't hurt me a bit. This will be a temporary thing. And then my brain will regrow and I'll be fine again. But right now, I just want to be happy for a little while. Can you do this for me?" And so he's like, "No, no, 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 no. This is too far." And then she tells him some really dirty stuff. And he's like, "Okay, so like right here." Like she talks him into it really quickly. And I'm weirdly weirded out by things going in my eye. Okay. I've had an injury where that happened. But even before that injury, I had horrible ideas about what would happen if something punctured your eye. Star Wars got me into that. And the first movie, whenever they capture Princess Leia and they have that little round droid coming towards her face going, "We have ways of making you talk." And then the needle's pointed at her eyeball and it gets closer and closer. And I never saw the end of that scene until I was a full grown adult in my 30s because I would always look away. I'm like, ah, like it just always freaked me out. In other movies, anything that had to do with something going in someone's eye, I always looked away. Um, so this is no different. It comes up and they got that camera close up towards her eye as he's getting, and I'm like, nope, not gonna watch that part. Nope, nope, nope. And then the thing is in her, and I realize this is special effects. I listen, I'm not that much of a moron that I don't know this is all like special effects and computer generated and whatnot. But man, that is disturbing to watch. And then he gets it into her air, into her part of her brain, and then she's like, "Here, now tap on this with the hammer." And she's talking him through the process, and he taps and gets in a little further, and she's like, "Okay, almost there. One more time." And he keeps tapping it further and further. She goes, "Now scoop around, get all that gushy stuff out." That's just one of the scenes that made me look away from the screen and go, "Oh my god!" Yeah, um, yeah. There's multiple. So if you feel like you cannot be grossed out by anything, watch any of the boys. Yeah, any of them, any episode, or just watch season 4, episode 4, because yeah, it's pretty disturbing. That's just one of the scenes. So, um, yeah, okay. Now let's pivot. I like to pivot, right? Because we kind of went on a dark path there of gross and icky stuff. Um, let's talk about Geek Girl. Okay. I was looking for something on Netflix that was just a simple watch, something I wouldn't have to think a lot on, something like 30 minutes long, and it came across my feed. It's called Geek Girl. It's based on a book, bestseller book. And to me, Geek Girl is just very uplifting. Um, it's centered around a girl. Her name is Harriet. She's supposed to be a teenager. She has a friend who's big time into fashion, and she's not. She's all about science and biology and dinosaurs and stuff like that. She wants to be a paleontologist. And her friend really wants to go to be a model or design clothes or have something to do with the fashion industry. And so they go to something, and while they're at this fashion thing, Harriet is just goofing around, and behind the scenes, this modeling agency is looking for a brand new face for this special person who's going to be um, debuted as a new model, um, showing off this one lady's collection. She has this one dress that she wants to have a fresh face in, and she gets discovered basically. And of course, it strains their friendship, and um, it's still like really good. There's there's a fun dynamic between her and her dad and her stepmom, and the friendship between her and her friends. And it shows you how weirdly people can change very quickly in front of your eyes. As far as like your friend groups, how they want to, some people act like they're, for whatever reason, better than you. And then when you achieve success, they suddenly want to be your best friend. And you can tell right away it's fake, but you're like weirdly happy that they're nice to you. But then you see again really quickly how much they can be turds. Um, but like watching the whole thing, I kept thinking this is sort of like Cinderella. I mean, in a way. Um, but even more than that, it's, to me, it's very empowering for young women to see it. I would think that as if you had like a teenage daughter or younger than teenage, probably the best time to watch it, because life is about change, right? You're meant to change. Your body was born really teeny tiny. And then you grew, multiple cells grew, and then you became a baby. And then the baby became a toddler, and a toddler became a child, and the child becomes a preteen, and then a preteen turns into a teen, and then they turn into monsters, and then they turn back into people again, and then they're nearly, growing and evolving. And we're all growing and evolving. But during that growing and evolving, you're supposed to also grow and change, because that's kind of the journey of life, right? Is understanding that you're a growing, changing, learning thing, and you get to find out what you like and what you don't like. And at the heart of it, this sort of goes back to a morality of be true to yourself. Um, Understand that there are people in your corner. Sometimes it's your best friend, sometimes it's your parents, sometimes it's both. Sometimes your own um, desires to make it in the world can get in the way of your friendships or your relationship with your parents. And sometimes you realize that that's the thing you should have nurtured all along because that's going to be what makes you happy in the end. And this is a great little story, and it has a nice little bow on the end that wraps it all up. And I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was uplifting. Matter of fact, when it was over, I felt all ooey gooey and sentimental, like kind of like when I watched Bridgerton. I got done with it, and I was like, "Oh, this is so great! I want to share this with people." So, like, I did a little Instagram post, and I shared it, and I was like, "You guys should watch Geek Girl because I really liked it." And we'll just see what happens. So yeah, I think the people who created the show were really great. I think the book is probably pretty good. I don't know that for sure, but I'm just guessing. It just came out on Netflix, and I thought it was wonderful. So yeah, there, I said it. Geek Girl, I like it. 2 thumbs up. Um, all right, and then there was this cute little movie that I watched yesterday, Ultraman. Ultraman Rising. It's a little cartoon. It's cute. Um, it's not a lot to say about it. It was just cute. I think kids love it. It's got like a dinosaur thing, and it's got a boy who plays baseball. It's a little advanced for little kids. Um, but yeah, I thought it was kind of cute. Not as great as the other shows I mentioned. The Boys, Geek Girl. But yeah, so Geek Girl on Rotten Tomatoes has 100%. By the way, just saying. IMDb gives it a 6.6 out of 10. Google says 70% like the show. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Um, Ultraman, Rotten Tomatoes gives it 82. IMDb gives it 7 out of 10. Metacritic gives it 65%. Okay. The Boys is a 93% Rotten Tomatoes, 8.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 92% on Google. And right now there's a meme going around about on The Boys, Kimiko. Kimiko is nonverbal on the show. Um, she is sort of like Wolverine. She has super strength, and um, you can't kill her. Like every time that you think she's completely dead because she gets blown apart, or she falls off a building, and she whatever happens to her, she grows back and she comes back and she's still fighting. And she's nonverbal. She has a friendship with a guy named Frenchie, or they call him Frenchie. Frenchie is a former assassin. They're best buddies. Um, Frenchie knows sign language. She doesn't know sign language. So in a lot of ways, Frenchie is sort of her voice at times, but it's also a way you can hear her internal monologue because she does sign and they have subtext at the bottom that tells you what she's saying. But he can have a back and forth with her so you know what she's thinking. To me, the whole show, especially in season 4, flows through Kimiko. Kimiko is brought into situations where she's sort of the muscle at times, but she's also dealing with her own stuff because her character, you can see she was abducted as a kid and she was experimented on, and then she was in some kind of underground fight club kind of thing for children. Um, and they're doing more story development on her for this season, which I kind of like. Um, but she's a great character. She's been there since season 1. I really enjoy her. So I don't know. There's a lot of people that's tied up in the Homelander character. Anthony Starr plays him because he's disturbing. He is very disturbing. Imagine if Superman was a just a jerk, like and egotistical. Yeah, yeah. That's Homelander. Kimiko is sort of the heart of the show to me. So anyway, that's enough of this. I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you for everybody for listening. Thank you everybody who watches the YouTube. Um, I got a new sandal. I want to show you guys because 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 why can't I just do it? Because so Free Water has these sandals. They're not. I'm not a sponsor of the podcast or anything. These sandals, obviously, it's got Bert Kreischer's face on it. Um, Mainly because Bert likes the sandal. Like I listen to a lot of his podcasts, especially in the beginning. I haven't heard it in a while because I've been so busy. But Bert really liked these free water sandals. They're called the Dylan. Um, and he liked them so much he kept mentioning them on people's podcasts, including Joe Rogan's podcast, about how much he loved these flip flops. And they reached out and they were like, "Holy cow, we didn't know you were a fan. We also discontinued the Dylan." He's like, "What?" So he did like an online campaign, bring back the Dylan, and they did. And not only that, um, when he was doing that, I went on their website and I bought a pair of their sandals, flip flops, and loved them. From the first moment I put them on, I was like, these are the most comfortable flip flops I've ever owned. And I basically lived in those things. And I had them for maybe 3 or 4 years until they literally just started falling apart. I mean, I wore them until they were just disintegrating. And they lasted a long time. And I didn't wear them just to go strolling on the boulevard or down at the local park. No, I did construction work in these things. I shoveled wearing these things. I helped people do engine work wearing these things. I welded wearing these things. I did all kinds of things in these flip flops you're not supposed to do. I would joke around with everybody going, "Oh, it's a good thing I got my ocean regulated flip flops on," but they were super comfortable. I never felt like I was going to lose my footing, or I never felt like oh, this is dangerous. I should not be wearing these. I mean, they were so comfortable and durable, and I definitely overworked what they should be able to do. And they took it, and they were comfortable. And so when they broke, I had a pair that I'd gotten from a trip, and I did not care for them. So I went online and I ordered some more of these, and they came in, and I'm wearing them, and I'm super happy because they're super comfortable. So I just wanted to say that. If you're looking for some comfortable flip flops, I can highly recommend go on Free Waters flip flops or Free Water. I don't know how what the website is. Free Water. Just go on Free Water online. Check them out. I think these are on sale right now. I got them for like $60. You're like $60 for flip flops. They'll last you, and they're super comfortable. And every pair that you buy, they donate a pair. So just saying, kind of a cool thing. So yeah, that's it. That's all. I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate everybody. Y'all take care. And as always, don't forget to cue the cow.
Cue the cow. Moo, baby.